Yeah. In this surah and in these verses, okay, it talks about that which age, or for example, a girl, for example, when you want to divorce, okay, so that what is the condition to divorce a woman, okay? And already in that verses, it says that which woman could have marriage condition. It doesn't matter what is the age. For example, she's 6, she's 2, she's 20, she's 200, she's 1. There is only one condition. There is only one condition. If she has, then you can fuck her. That's all. It doesn't matter. Okay, what? She has what? This is very important things, man. I don't want to give you the answer because you're looking for the answer.
I know the verse, but go ahead. Tell me
what is it?
Explain the condition.
Okay. In Arabic, there is one word that they say hazed. You know what does it mean? It means that period.
All right.
If a girl, okay, gets period, you can fuck her. That's all. You can marry her.
I agree. The period of consent is not a period. I agree. I agree. But do you know what arf is? Do you know what arf is?
Yeah, of course, yes.
So what is arf?
Okay, or. Come on, man. These are the.
No. What is the arf of marriage? What is the arf of a
Arf in Arabic means that generally means that the people that they are living there accept that. Okay.
Exactly.
Exactly. I know.
Thank you. So what's the age of consent?
Let me finish my word.
What's the age of consent?
Let me finish my word. Okay. Don't fight. You're talking. Okay. Tell me which one has a high priority. God's commands or orf?
God allowed us to do orf, so yes.
No. God allowed. No. Answer me. My question was very simple. Which one has a priority? God's commands. God's commands. Come on. God's command.
I'm not a divine command theorist.
So then the other, also there's another evidence that I can show you because already Dan was talking about, but you tried to ignore that. There is another surah that in Quran when you read about it, Muhammad is a usfa. What's the meaning of usfa in Arabic? Usfa, what does it mean? You know that?
No, I don't know. I don't think you're pronouncing it correctly.
Osve.
Yeah, we're not a Hebrew. Sorry to interrupt, but I have to read this. Someone in the comment section, listen, Bahara, according to Surah Al-Baqarah, okay, Ayah 284, your testimony, your cognition, right, all of that is simply subject to doubt, okay? So before you make that statement, go get another female of the right aqidah, of the right aqaid, not just aqidah, aqaid, right? And make sure they're from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and then we might take it into testimony.
Can you invite?
Right? And then we might take it as fact. But don't come in here and write, look what she's written. بابك چرا تو احمد بازی در میاری در اسلام بلوغ جسمی و روانی هر دو برای ازدواج لازم است. That is absolutely false. By the same token of the Shiite scholars and the Sunni scholars. According to your Khomeini Bahara, right, according to Wilayat al-Faqih, right, you can marry them at the age of 3 and 4, and you can do tafkhiz, aka thighing. You put your penis between the thigh, right?
Of course, yes. But wait a minute. One thing that I didn't get you off that you said that in Islam, you said that don't play a game. We know that in Shia and Sunni, the girl should be what? Adult. You know that should be an adult, even for as a body. And the other one, you said that what?
She said
means that age and
yeah.
Only age, yes, exactly.
Age
I agree with you.
Wait, curiosity.
No, there is no. Okay, let's go. That I was asking him that Ashraf. We know that as usfa in Arabic means example. Muhammad is an example.
Okay.
Muhammad is a good example. Listen, whatever he has done, when we talk about the Sunni, means sunnat, means tradition, means that whatever Muhammad did at that moment, it's an example for all Muslims. Okay? This is very okay. Correct. Yes. Good. But based on the Surah Talaq, I told you, number 4, verses number 4, it says that already the God has explained that when you want to divorce, okay, which woman you can divorce them. Okay, the most condition that this is very important condition that girl should get period. Okay, this is the first condition. The other things, Muhammad is an example. What did he do when he was around 40, 42, something like this? He married a girl that he was around what? 6. In some narrative, they say 9. But if you see the Sunnis, all of them, they agree that she was around 6. Why? Yeah. When Muhammad is an example for a Muslim, it gives this authority to all Muslims. They said that, okay, if Muhammad did, why shouldn't I have done it? I will do that.
Wait, Babak, yeah, you're right about everything you said, correct. But I have a question. So I see the atheist, the profile picture. So what's your moral ethical framework? Do you believe like what you're saying is a defeater to Islam? That's my main question. Can you answer that, please?
Okay, in the meanwhile, sorry, Ashraf, sorry. Alpha, are you still here? Alive, breathing.
Sorry, man. Again, can you answer your question?
No, wait. Can you answer my question?
Again, please answer your question again. Please, sorry.
No, you're good. What's your moral ethical framework as an atheist?
Moral. We're talking about the morality and atheism.
You think yes, can you answer? Can you answer? Yes,
atheism is not an ideology. Atheism, like everyone.
I understand.
Atheism also. Listen, let me finish. You are a Muslim. Let me finish. Okay, let me finish. Wait a minute. I want to answer your question. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
I want to prove that also you are an atheist. Let me finish my word. Okay, don't attack.
I won't.
Just assume that. Just let me finish. Just assume that we have 1,000 gods, okay, the whole world, okay, 1,000. Just assume that. I know that we have more. Just assume that, okay. Already you denied 999 of them. You have only one God. So I can say you are an atheist against 999. The only difference between you and me is one thing. I don't believe even that the other God. Means that I deny all of that. But let me finish. Okay. I see. Let me finish. Okay. So now already also you're an atheist. I proved that. The other things that you asked me about the morality, you said that, okay, as an atheist, what is your morality, whatever. So the answer is very simple. The humanity is my morality. Now I follow the human rights. These are my basic rules that I commit them. That's all. Okay. But again, I want to tell you there is no relation between the atheism and morality.
If I may, Babak, Ashraf, if I may just for a second. Babak, first of all, what you just described is called being agnostic, where you where you believe in however many deities, but you don't actually accept any of them. So you're not atheist.
Yeah, that's not atheism.
Hold on. You're at best agnostic. No. Hold on. We let you speak for a bullshit couple of minutes. Now you let me or him speak. Second of all, you say about him being an atheist because he believes in one God and therefore he's an atheist to the other like 99 something other gods. No, he's a disbeliever in those gods. It doesn't make him an atheist towards them. So I don't know where you got that stupid argument, you Reddit user.
Yeah, it was from Neil deGrasse Tyson. It's from Neil deGrasse Tyson.
He has started, and already I'm answering him that about the agnosticism and atheist. That these are two separate things. Generally, if you say that already, I know that God is a mass, is a material, and I know that God lives in one of these, I don't know, 1,000 billion planets already we have, then I said that, okay, also I cannot prove that also the God doesn't live there or God doesn't exist. Yeah, it could be, for example, in planet A24. Let me finish. Okay, I want to tell you that what's the difference between the agnosticism and atheist. Okay, if you tell me God is a material, okay, and you can find him in another planet already, how many planets do we have? More than billion planets. Then in this scenario, I have to say that yes, I agree with you, and I cannot 100% say that yes, there is no God and God doesn't exist, because yes, we have billion planets. But if you tell me the God already you're talking about, it's not a material, okay? It's not a material. Also, already has created all these materials. Then in this scenario, because you don't have enough evidence to show default position, again, I'm talking about the logic. Default position in this scenario for me is always false until, because already you claim that, you prove or justify that. Understood?
Okay, just one more question, Babak, and then I'll give it to Ashraf. Just out of curiosity, do you know anything about what Islam or Judaism believes about God?
The only thing that I know about the Judaism, both that they believe that there is only one God, and nobody can talk to God or see him. Lam yalid yulad wa lam yakun lahu kufuwan ahad.
Wait, talk as like a person to person. Of course you can. You had Moshe, you had Moses at Har Sinai, the Mount Sinai. Otherwise, it's just going to be a one-way conversation.
I didn't get it very well. Your sound's caught. What did you say?
I'll repeat it. First of all, I'm not an expert in Islamic studies, but from what I understand, it is a lot more to Allah than just believing that He's one in Islam. Same is true for Judaism. It's a lot more to the God Almighty than just believing that He's one. There is so many other things. So if you're just going to go based on that,
yeah, the only thing that I understood, you said that the common things between Islam and Judaism, that they believe there is only one God. Yes, this is yes, there is only one God. Unlike the Christianity, because that they believe that also Jesus Christ also is a God, but Jesus Christ is not a God. It means that Judaism and Muslims, they don't believe in it. And in Islam,
just so I understand, are you atheist?
Yes, I'm an atheist. Yes, again, yeah.
Okay, but you just said I'm an atheist, and like anyone who believes in one God is an atheist because they reject the other gods.
Again, what did I say? That
you said there's thousands of gods. I only believe in one and reject the 999. And these
so exactly, you're an atheist against that 9900.
No, yes, but atheism means the rejection of all deities.
Yes, you are right. When you see the definition of atheism, means that atheism, they disbelieve, but very strongly they deny. I agree. But when we talk about an atheism, it's a kind. First of all, let me tell you another things, because you can find a lot of definition. But my friend, if you're looking for an atheism is kind of reaction to theism. What does it mean? It means that people, okay, they were living next to each other very friendly, and we didn't have any problem with their belief. Suddenly, a man or a group came and they claimed that already there is a God, and God gave them a lot of powers. The other group means that at that moment they were looking for some evidence, and they tried to see that exactly what do they say. After a while, when they saw they didn't receive any symptoms, any signs, this kind of group, this is a reaction in society. In Greek, when you put the A, it means that against the other one. They say that we don't believe it. We cannot believe it. There is no evidence. All the things that you said, these are the claims that you cannot justify. Then this group is named atheist. Atheism is a kind of reaction to theism. It doesn't matter. When we talk generally in our general conversation, why we call ourselves, that atheists or, for example, atheists, because we know exactly we're not talking about, for example, people that they worship idols. We're talking about Abrahamis, that prophets and gods means that I'm talking about Allah, he's talking about Yahweh, he's talking about the Jesus Christ. Because of these, very
Don't say
strongly
that
we
name
say,
out of respect for the Jews here. You can't say that name.
okay, I got your point. Yeah, I don't care. That. I'm so sorry. Yes, I shouldn't. Okay, I shouldn't have said. Okay. But in our conversation, our context is very clear. I don't need to prove. That, for example, there is no God. Everybody knows that. Okay. Again, I told you that story that if we have 1,000 gods and you are against, or you don't believe, or you disbelieve, or you deny 999, that was a big example that I gave you. But generally in our conversation, we know that exactly we are talking about which God. Of course we know that.
Babak, I don't think you're intelligent enough to understand what atheist is. So I just sent you a definition in chat. I can send it to you again in a second. But it does not say anything about disbelieving in many gods. It just says denying a god, and that's it.
Dan, last, sorry for that. The last thing that I want to say. I know very well about the definition. You don't need to send it to me. I
Clearly
gave you all those examples. I won't listen. I gave all those examples. You know why? To prove that there is no relation between morality and to be an atheist. That's all.
No, there is. There literally. You just called yourself a humanist. You called yourself a humanist.
Okay. If you want to prove that, if you want to say that there is a relation, now give me a link somewhere that, for example, if you want to know atheism, then for example they have some, for example, I don't know, they every day, for example, like Muslim, every day they do pray. For example, when they see other people, they say, for example, salam. They show me some evidence. I really would like to know that. How do you want to justify this issue that there is a relation between atheist and morality?
Okay, let me give you an example.
Sure, yeah.
So,
yeah.
Let me give you an example. So, wait, Babak, you said you made a critique. You said the prophet is a pedophile, for example, right? He slept with, which is a historical fact that he slept with a child,
I didn't
right?
say that he was a pedophile.
No, I know, but I know.
I didn't say that.
You said, no, I agree with you. You said that this is immoral, correct? You believe it's immoral, right?
What do you think?
Well, obviously your attitude towards it will be yes, it is immoral, correct?
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, now under your worldview, can you justify it being immoral as an atheist?
Very easy, because experience, that experience
personal
during
experience.
these years shows. Okay, let me finish. Because how do I know that it is not good? Because experience during these years shows me that this kind of marriage, okay, hurt people. So it causes that people.
Is in this instance, is the hurt good or bad? Because again, you asked for proof, and after this we'll go back onto Israel Palestine because we derailed way too far. You asked for the proof between morality and atheism. Very simple. Look at the past 100 to 200 years. The people have become more atheist, a lot less acknowledging of God or following of God, and the morality has derailed so far, and you cannot disagree with that because that's just a fact. That for you to say that atheism and perverted that atheism and morality are not linked is for you to basically go against history. I'm sorry, but that's just the fact.
Okay, I don't know what do you want to prove that.
Yeah, but honestly, I'm against Islam, but I hate you atheists. Because you can't pick a side.
It doesn't matter, man. Hatred is a part of, hatred is a part of our attitude.
Stop talking. You were talking for the last 20 minutes. You atheists really have no side, and you make me sick to my stomach. At least with a Muslim, I can have a conversation with, but you atheists are disgusting. Like, you make me sick to my stomach. And you have no backbone. You have no nothing. He asked you a question. What makes pedophilia illegal in atheism? And you're like, yeah, but I was talking for the last 20 minutes. What makes pedophilia bad in atheism? Tell me about
Simple biology.
Yeah, first of all, the alphabet. I want to answer you very, very shortly. Okay, you know that the things that you did, you know that was kind of attack
Don't
on a
go in the
person. You
passion.
know that
Don't go in
you
the
dissed
passion.
me.
Don't
So
go
no,
in the
you
passion.
dissed me. No, listen, you dissed me, and now already that you expect me to answer you. But I prefer Alpha. Please, you answer him. Okay, that I don't want to talk to him because as he said that he doesn't like me, and I don't know why he wants to.
I don't like you because you people have no morals. You people don't build societies. You people are pussies and you're consumkum. I don't.
Okay,
look,
we're not. Honestly, we're not doing that, bro. We're not doing that. Why are you doing that, Jack?
You know the difference, baby. Exactly the difference between you as a believer and I as an atheist is something like this.
Guys,
There is
why
no
have we
reason that I
derailed
hate
the
you.
conversation?
There is no reason that I hate you. Sorry, what?
No,
Look, I just want to answer this.
Absolutely, Alpha's right.
this-
Why are we derailing the conversation?
Yeah, I
I
told
answer
you to
this
go back. I told
message
you
in
to
the
go back.
comment
Yeah.
section,
I want
right?
to talk about what happened in Israel last night.
We have a Basij in the comment section. She has written this. She has written to Moshe, my friend. She has written Moshe. قوم یهود فقط خودش رو انسان میدانند. بقیه رو حیوان میدانند. این عقیده کثیف را باید مخفی کنی. از این ادعا را از کجا آوردید؟ بهاره کدوم کتاب یدیه را که چنین ادعای دارد یا معرفی کنید؟ ببینیم. Where did you bring this claim that Jews don't see anyone else as humans? What did Moses say to Aaron?
She's Iranian, bro. She's a part of the IGC.
She's part of the Basij, you can tell. Then she's written,
Bring her
she's
up.
saying,
Bring her up to this channel.
she's saying this, she's saying, Moshe, the Jewish people, right, only consider themselves as humans and the rest as animals. You must get rid of this belief, this ugly belief. Then she goes on to say this. You can tell she's a Basij. She's one of those Basij who rounds up women, right? She's part of the Gashta Irshad, who rounds up other women and beats them and rapes them in the van. Aren't you? I bet you are one of those, Bahare, right? It's the same thing you did with Gina, right? And the 20 other women that Gashta Irshad raped and molested in the van. Then she goes and says, Moshe, تو نوع بشر را حیوان میدانی که برای خدمت به یهود آفریده شدند. خود را گول نزن. Now she's making an accusation against against Moshe, saying, you consider humans as animals that are only created for the service of the Jews.
She's the one that she arrests Kurdish women in Iran and she puts them in prisons. We all know who she is. She's a terrible human being.
And then she goes on to write this. Moshe, Sayonistha as حیوان بیشتر هستند. Zionists are worse than animals. اونها در حال انجام بزرگترین نسل کشی در غزه هستند. They are committing the biggest act of genocide in Gaza. شما کودکان غزه را سلاخی کردید. So she's basically saying that you guys are basically slaughtering children in Gaza. Then she goes on to say this. This is the crux. She says, Moshe, نابودهتان خیلی نزدیک است. خودت این را خوب میدانی. Moshe, your annihilation is near, and you know this very well. Do you see that this is Islamic eschatology?
Guys, we're going back. We're not going to go off. No, I know. Listen, we're not going to go. We're going to bring up the topic. We're going back to the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. We're going to go back to what happened last night in Israel and debunking Pali lies, propaganda, instead of propaganda, but it's propaganda. All the lies that are being spelled out throughout Clubhouse and throughout the world in the West and Europe, everywhere. I don't want this to be about Iranian atheist room. This wasn't. The title doesn't say anything about that. It's a safe place for Jews. And debunking Pali lies and propaganda. And you have somebody like Summer in the bottom. I'm not sure if she's a PHI or she just strictly hates Jews, but kicked me out of her room yesterday. Because she got tricked really quick. I told her, why are you supporting Israel every day? She goes, ow. I said, just do me a simple thing. I want you to Google how you support Israel every day. So she goes, okay, I got the response. I'm like, you just supported Israel. You went up to Google. She didn't understand it. She goes, well, let me read what it says. I'm like, you just supported Israel. Google is designed in Israel. But the low IQ doesn't understand that 99% of the people in this room are supporting Israel every fucking day. And if you don't want to support Israel, go back to the Stone Ages. Don't own shit. Go back. Live on rocks. Use a rock as a tent. And that's it. But you want
Who's
to
in
live
charge
in
of this
comfort.
room? Harry.
I am.
Are you?
Me and Harry.
Bibi. Yeah. Can you bring her up to speak with us? Like to.
I've already invited her. So.
Okay, buddy. Like if you're not gonna accept it, you're just a coward at this point.
But I want to talk about, I don't want to derail the conversation anymore. I want to talk about what happened yesterday in Jerusalem. How 7 people were murdered. Like there's 6 or 7 that are seriously injured. And where all this Jew hatred is coming from.
BB, what's going on, man?
What's up, Primo? What are you doing, bro?
You know, just doing my thing. Harry, everybody, how are you? Nice to see everybody here.
Yeah, Grace Moore. This is my cousin.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I love it.
He actually got me on this app.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And then left.
Yeah.
Been a little bit busy.
Yeah. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, Jewish resistance. That's what I call myself. That's what I do. I typically don't like to give my bios. Usually somebody does that for me because I'm not a guy that likes to big myself up, but I'm a guy that works in the
He goes
community.
around, he does security for the Jewish world. He helps out. He does security also for a lot of the hostages that were released for them to go speak. And he travels the world and secures certain events. And it's crazy because he's a good speaker but doesn't like to introduce himself. He heads a bunch of fundraising organizations to help support the IDF and Jewish agencies that teach children and adults how to defend themselves with self-defense courses throughout the world. And welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, hakavod to you.
Thank you. Basically, we don't have all the information. At least I don't have all the information because I was in a 2.5-hour tribunal in Israel this morning on the attack yesterday or last night. But, you know, I'm sure it's going to come out, you know, another set of cowards that, you know, want to scream Allah Akbar while they're killing Jews. Bibi asked a question, where does the hatred come from? It's pretty much rolling time back to the 40s. They've made normalizing they've normalized Jew hatred and demonized us in a way on the public stage where honestly, it's surprising even as somebody like me. When I see the scale and the scope of it all, how common folk, as I call them, who have zero affiliation, who couldn't tell you which river or which sea, who have zero affiliation to the land or the people, wouldn't know who's indigenous to the land and who isn't. When they're supporting the popular cause, you know, it's because it's popular. It's because they stopped doing TikTok trends and started doing free, you know, Lord of the Rings. And I mean, if they had any education, they would understand that the Palestinians were us. We were the Palestinians. And when the Brits turned it into the British Mandate of Palestine, the Jews were the occupants of the land and henceforth were Palestinians. It wasn't until 63 the Yasser Arafat decided he wanted to start using that. And I mean, listen, as much as I hope he rolls in his grave, to his credit, he knew exactly what he was doing. He built a propaganda machine that's just unbelievably hard to stop. But that doesn't mean we throw our hands up in the air and just say, yeah, okay, we give up. We keep fighting like we always have. And like I always say, this is just a repeat for us. This is a rerun. This is just the same episode, different time. We've been here before. And throughout time, we've been here many times, unfortunately. But like all of those other times, we will be the last one standing. And that's just who we are as a people. For whatever reason, God gave us the ability to maintain our nation, no matter what is thrown at us. He told us we would be small, but we would be mighty. And, based on that premise, over generations, that's been the case. And this will be no different. We just have to keep our resolve strong and just keep moving forward and push the ball forward every day. And that means, platforms like BB does and Harry does and all of you do on Clubhouse or Instagram posts, comments, push back any way you can. A lot of people call me every day or message me or DM me and they say, what do I do? How can I help? I'm just one person. Well, listen, man, Moses was one person. Noah was one person. Joshua was one person. Throughout our history, it always started with one person. I delivered a talk once called The Power of One. And it always takes that one spark to ignite a fire. And everybody can be that spark. And I'm not trying to give a motivational talk right now. I'm just speaking in general terms. If you want something to do, you're doing it. By being on here, by being proactive, by, debunking lies and not allowing people to get away with anti-Semitic rhetoric, because terminology, it's a big deal. When you allow someone to call them Palestinians, you're buying right into the anti-Semitism. You're agreeing with them. They're Arab occupiers. That's what they are, and that's who they are. El Masri, El Kurdo, they're all freaking from other places. And at the end of the day, they're Jordanians, they're Egyptians, they're Syrians. So if you want to really make a difference, refuse to accept bad terminology and just don't allow it to happen. When people say to me, yeah, but even the Prime Minister of Israel calls them Palestinians, well, he's wrong. And I love him more than, almost as much as I love my own father. But I will tell him to his face one day, you're wrong. You should be calling them out as, who they are and what they are. They're Arab occupiers. They're occupying our land that we allowed them to live in, and they destroyed, and they elected Hamas. They democratically elected Hamas after destroying all of the greenhouses we left behind, all of the infrastructure we left behind. I don't know how old everybody is in this room, but I remember seeing scenes of the IDF dragging people out of their homes in Gaza, telling them, you're moving. You got to get out of here.
Or bulldozers pulling people from poles.
Right. Unburying the dead because we didn't trust those savages with our dead. And I remember those scenes. And while I'm not, an old man yet, I'm old enough to know and to have seen it. But at the end of the day, you have to remember who we are, where we come from. And I mean, their message is pretty clear. Free, Lord of the Rings, and, intifada, and, from the river to your mother. That's it. That's their whole message. We're always trying to go on the defensive. oh, but it's our land. Oh, but we're this, and oh, but that. And you got to get straight to the point. Just get right to the heart of the matter. The bottom line is, we gave them the land. They destroyed it. They elected terrorists to govern them. And then they started complaining when the terrorists were, going at them too hard. But they're blaming Israel for it, saying, Israel's been keeping them in an open-air prison. But they say nothing about Egypt, who has the biggest border wall I've ever seen in my life. We've got 3 of them, as a matter of fact. And the harsh truth of the matter is, and they don't want to admit it, and they'll dance around the truth all day long by saying it's 80 years of oppression, and it's this, and it's 80 years of that. The harsh truth is, nobody fucking wants you. Nobody wants you, because everywhere you go, you destroy it. Everywhere you go, you commit acts of terror, like you did last night in Jerusalem. And the problem is, it's a cancer. And unless a cancer is, cut out, it's never going to heal. They're never going to want peace. They're trained for world domination. They're trained for a global caliphate. They're indoctrinated from the moment they're born. And if you can imagine, if you ever wanted to explain to somebody the magnitude of what we're dealing with, all you have to do is this. Explain to them that a woman decides with her husband or whoever she's going to get pregnant. She holds the baby, she takes her vitamins, she does everything correctly for 9 months. She talks to the baby, sings to the baby in her stomach. She's careful, she's cautious. The baby comes out, they celebrate, they're partying. And then her greatest wish for that baby is that he blows himself up along with 100 Jews. Imagine that type of mentality.
Alhamdulillah ala ni'mat al-Islam.
Nice try, motherfucker.
No, that guy's a friend. He's playing with you.
Oh, okay.
That was Alpha, right?
Yeah, but that's what they say, though.
Yeah, well, alhamdulillah, they're fucking culos. Anyways, the bottom line is, that's where they're at. That's where their heads are at. And if you want to beat them at their own game, you just give them the fucking real facts. Just give it to them. You guys are occupiers. You're out to destroy the world. Everywhere you go, you spread hate. You look at any march, and all you see is anger, hatred, screaming, yelling, and then the polar opposite on the opposite side of the street. They're dancing, they're singing, they're praying, they're hoping that our hostages can God willing come home. And then you look back across the street and they're screaming with rage and with hatred, because that's how they're indoctrinated. They're indoctrinated from a young age. I have math books that say in Arabic, if you have 3 Jews and you killed 1, how many Jews do you have left? Math books for the equivalent of a grade 1 student. So with that type of mentality, the only way to combat it is not to be afraid of it and just confront it head on. Because the end of the day, whenever you see them attack, what do you see? What's the common factor, the common denominator? 20 of them attack 1 Jew like they did in Santa Monica last week. 20 of them. But when we come on and we say to them, how about we meet you, our 20 and your 20? They don't even respond. They won't even entertain the idea. Or when a good friend of mine who's a professional UFC fighter, when he went to New York looking for one of them, he flew to New York from Vegas, stopped training, went to look for them, and said, hey, buddy, I'm here. You were out here in this park bullying Jews. I'm here. Come meet me. Let's do this. The fucking coward who's supposed to be a pro boxer didn't even respond. And we were tagging him nonstop. So he saw it. We know he saw it.
Are you talking about Natan Levy?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that. The guy didn't show up. What a coward.
Twice.
Yeah, he's
Twice
a coward.
he didn't show up.
And he was going around with videos, putting like boxing gloves on, like he was
Punch
like
up.
harassing Jews.
Right. He was in Central Park running up to Jewish people and saying, hey, let's go, let's fight. And so when the tables were turned on him and his 30 friends he had behind him, he turned into a fucking pussy.
Yeah, and Natan Levy posted on his Instagram, I'm here in New York, like, where are you at?
Yeah, I know. I was on the phone with him.
By himself.
Yeah.
Well, he had a cameraman go with him,
But you know what I
the
mean?
cameraman
Yeah.
is like, he's nothing. He's a skinny little guy that doesn't fight. So really, he had no cops with him. He had no backup with him. He just wanted to go and smash the guy. And because, you know, a bully needs to be confronted. That's the moral of the story, right? I'm trying to be less preachy and more factual, but, you know, you've got to be confrontational to a point where it makes sense. You know, and it can be confrontational where you're just commenting on posts, or you're posting or sharing or resharing. You know, that's a form of confrontation. It doesn't have to be physical. It doesn't have to be violence. You can use your words. You can send in letters. You can write letters. You can look up all these fake Muslim charities and start reporting them to the IRS or the CRA in Canada and say, I want an investigation on these people. They're sending money overseas. What's the money being used for? And at the very least, they'll pull it up on the computer and look into it. They may not do an in-depth investigation unless you have evidence, but they will look into it. So there's things you can do. And I would encourage everybody to just do something. And being here, you are doing something. This is something. And it's something good because it's educational and it'll expand your knowledge on the situation. And as things arise, like Jerusalem last night, you know, everybody's perspective is important. Everybody's how you feel about it is important. Because again, it takes one person to come up with that solution. It's all it is, really. There's no science behind it.
And it's funny too, like I see Tone's PTR and I was going through it and it says approximately 85% of the world's refugees are Muslims, but they don't seek asylum in the 56 Muslim countries. They only seek asylum in non-Muslim countries. But
Right.
Why?
The global caliphate. And they are all, if you look at them, like really look at them, they're all fighting age males. Very seldom do they have women and children with them. All these migrants that are crossing borders are fighting age males. And guess what? Years ago, Abu Baghdad what's his name? Bagari?
Alpha, what's his name?
Abu Bakr.
Abu Bakr, sorry, right. He said it. I'm going to embed fighters in all of the countries. He said, I'm going to put them out as migrants, and there's nothing you can do to stop me. And he did it. So now, whoever took over, and then took over, and then took over, they carried it forward. And they're still doing it. And our countries are so dumb. But I mean, look, if you're in London or you're in the UK, I feel for you. We're in Canada, it's just as bad. It's not, maybe not as bad yet, but it's getting there. But you know, your London immigration minister Did anyone get a load of her yesterday? She's like, radical Islam written all over her face. And so I can't even imagine what that country's going to look like in a few months. And we've got immigration ministers who are pretty much the same. And they think that allowing 1 million migrants in this year was a good idea. Unvetted, unchecked, undocumented, illegally walking in. And now some of the mayors in Canada are actually flying them in.
Hey, I just want you to know too. It's not just that. I guarantee you that a lot of the migrants were former ISIS, former Taliban, former ISIS, former Muslim Brotherhood. We literally have a Muslim Brotherhood guy that's has a famous podcast in New York. His name is Beghat Sabri. He's an Egyptian who openly says on his podcast in Arabic, in America, while he's safe in New York, that we should behead 2 Coptic Christians for saying stuff against Islam. He wants them beheaded, and he's not in jail. Bro, I literally took the clip and I sent it to the FBI through email, and this guy is just chilling, man. You can freely say I'm going to behead Christians here in America. So.
But if you say anything about Muslims, you're going to get locked up.
Yeah, something really weird is going on.
Yeah, Mamdani's going to become the mayor of New York, and it's going to become a really, really bad scene.
Is that guy American citizen, by the way?
Yeah.
Mamdani?
No, not Mamdani. That guy who said he wants to behead Christians.
I'm not even sure, bro. Look him up. His name is Beck.
I'm not gonna waste my time looking this retard up. But I was just gonna say, why don't you just send it to ICE? Because ICE, if he's illegal, then ICE will they're really busy right now. So somebody like that, they would be happy to deport this guy.
True.
So
that's a good idea.
And then with the FBI, I would just go on X and tag Kash Patel on that post, make it as a post and then just tag FBI, Kash Patel.
Tag everybody on it, like the media, the New York Times,
Department of Justice,
everybody.
Exactly.
Very good. Yeah. Thank you.
You're sending an email. You don't blind CC. You CC everybody, as many emails as you can get, and then they can't turn a blind eye. They're like, "Fuck, everybody knows about this."
See, Harry, that's something, that's an incredible idea, and it takes 3 seconds to implement, and that's what I'm talking about. It's once here, we were going to our gym every morning, and we noticed a group of, men. They were all Muslim, and, no big deal. They're training. We're training. Okay, cool, right? But every morning we'd walk in, and they're all surrounding the elliptical machines, except nobody's ever fucking using them. So after a few days of that, we got on the phone with the FBI and said, hey, you may want to come to, wherever and take a look at this, because this is what's going on. And we sent them pictures, we sent them video, and they said, okay, we're on it. It's 100% sketch. You don't come to a gym every day and stand around a machine and nobody does any type of workout, but yet they're all members of the gym. So it's just like, small little things you can do, and that will make a big difference. That's all it is, man. Just.
Did you get to know Jewish resistance recently when Pauline Hanson, who is a parliamentarian, who was a member of parliament in Australia, she made a few comments in response to the vitriol spewed by Mehreen Faruqi, who is an MP of Pakistani origin, basically an Arabized, Islamized Hindu. And when they won the case against Pauline Hanson, they filed a lawsuit against her. And when they won, Mehreen Faruqi explicitly said that this was a precedent that this will happen to anybody that tells us to go back to where we came from, or or that we perceive they are being quote unquote discriminatory against us. And just recently, an unelected judge gave the pro-Hamas sympathizers and pro-Hamas camp the Harbor Bridge. And after that, they started occupying the Melbourne Bridge and others, and they started burning the Australian flag. We have the Greens in the Australian Parliament saying wearing the Australian flag is a prop. I mean, this is the kind of things we have. This is the kind of things we have, and they passed the religious discrimination bill, which simply gave them the impunity with which they act. And it's hard to even have a conversation, whether it's on campus, whether it's in public, whether it's holding a hall where you can expose their ideology. And it's hard to really speak out, because it's not that people cannot speak out. I mean, I was stabbed in 2012 by members of the Hizb ut-Tahrir, which is one of the militant wings of the Muslim Brotherhood. At the time, I was on campus and I spoke about this, and I was a known propagator of Islam at the time, and I declared my apostasy. I declared my recantation publicly, and it didn't take a month before I was attacked. So this is what's happening. I've been in America. I've been in Australia. This is what's happening. How do we approach it? How do we approach it?
So
Because we don't just have Islam.
It's a perfect storm, Alpha, and I'm sorry for what you went through, and I'm glad you're okay. It's a perfect storm, and I say that not lightly. It's the weakest governments on every side of the border at the exact same fucking time. That's the problem. The only little bit of light was that Trump got elected. And thank God he did, because if it was Kamala, our world would have already exploded. But at the end of the day, I agree with you. It's insurmountable because of all of these governments and the agendas that they're pushing. And I live in a country that's exactly like that. And all of our politicians are woke, and they're extremely sympathetic to the Muslims, and their open border policies are destroying the fabric of this society. So how do you combat that? You combat that by propping up proper candidates for the next election. You walk in to whoever's office that's going to be running as the top guy, whether it's, a member of parliament, whether it's a city councilor, whether it's an MPP, whatever the case may be, mayoral candidate, and you walk into the office and you say, what can I do to help? What do you guys need? Let me call 5 or 10 of my friends and let's get some hands on here for you. Let's help. Going to the polling stations is huge. Putting your voice down on paper is huge. But along the way, there's a lot of logistics that take place. And I worked for some very, very large politicians in the country that I'm in. And I know the amount of work that went into getting them elected. It wasn't small. So like with this mayoral campaign in New York, for instance, I understand, like, it's a hard sell. You got Sliwa, you got Adams, Cuomo, forget it. But like, if Adams is the best pick, which I don't know that he is or isn't, but in my opinion, he's a lot better than Mamdani. Anybody would be. I would walk into his office and say, "Hi, Eric Adams, what can I do to help you? What do you need? You need people to put up signs. You need people to put signs on their vehicles and drive around. You need whatever. You need letters written. You need envelopes stuffed. Let me help you, because while you're helping and you're organizing people to help, people that are professionals at it can do better things." So the chief of staff, and I've seen it, doesn't have to sit there stuffing envelopes. The chief of staff can be coordinating meetings and rallies and, whatever. But the bottom line is you need to prop up the proper politicians and help them, because that's our only salvation, is going to be somebody that runs the country and dictates laws. So we live in a country where the mayor is probably the worst mayor this country's ever seen. And her deputy is a radical Islamist. And so, of course, they get away with murder. And, if a Jewish person or a Christian person or a Hindu crosses the street wrong, they get arrested. Or if they look at them wrong, they get arrested. They call it Islamophobia. So how do you counter that? You get rid of them. You outvote them. You make sure they never hold that seat again. Because you'll go back historically to every country. Whenever there's been a strong leader, there's been less Islam. But these people are strategic. They wait and they wait and they wait until there's a weak enough leader in place that they just go out and spread their agenda. If I would have told you 10 years ago that there would be clerics running around in Texas telling shopkeepers they're going to be under Sharia law, you'd laugh at me. But it's happening. And they're saying, for now, if you don't comply, we're going to have 500 people outside your store protesting every day, 7 days a week. You'll have no business. So they're giving them that type of extortion today. Tomorrow, it may be, we'll shoot you. You don't know. But something has to be done. And the only way to circumvent anything like that is by getting the proper people in leadership roles. Because, look, we can talk about it all we want, but we're not the ones that dictate policy. But those people that do dictate policy, you make sure that they have everything they need in order to get that voice out. And
That's
just
true
did it here.
Jewish resistance. I agree with you on every point you just explained. However, I want to ask, doesn't the public discourse have to be in favor of that candidate? And in order for that to take place, don't you need to have a voice that preaches the message? Now, when that voice is being suppressed, how do you get the message out? See, for instance, I've approached politicians and I've told them, and they've told me to go spread the message. But the law has been, I would say, the law has been framed in a way where it's really difficult to get the message out there, to deliver the message that, for example, the candidate that you're voting for. I'll give you an example. I worked on a campaign, right, with some people on a local level, and there were two politicians. One of them had gone to an Australian elementary school, junior high school, senior high school, basically all of his educational background, all of his, community service, all of his, social service and public service that he was committed to before he became a politician and decided to run for parliament. And then you had another one, again, who did not go to an Australian elementary school or junior high school and whatnot, and did not have that education background. See, I'm talking about two politicians. One of them is Farhad Dastayari, and one of them is Fatima Payman. Now, Farhad Dastayari is known. His family came from Iran. He came in the 60s, 70s, and they integrated into Australian society, and he was very pro-Australia. Now, Fatima Payman, and throughout all of his policies that he committed to were very pro-Australia, were very much in the benefit of Australia, right? And he was very critical of the Iranian regime. He was very critical of anything that's even had the scent of anti-Western or anti-Australia. Now, Fatima Payman, on the other hand, that came on the scene a few years ago, she was the daughter of a taxi driver who had migrated from Afghanistan, escaped the Taliban, and she was enrolled in a private Islamic school from basically elementary school all the way to senior high school. Then she graduated, went to university, got on the labor ticket, and decided to go into parliament. And her first move in parliament was the whole hurrah that she started about so-called Palestine. Now, this makes me think, if I want to get the message out there to people that you should vote for people like Farhad Dastayari and not Fatima Payman, because Fatima Payman's agenda is very clear, right? If I do that, then I actually face some legal challenges, which I believe I got out without so much of a scathe. Then I realized that, see, I tried to get the message out there between a person who is a descendant of a migrant, but they're very pro-Australia in comparison to a descendant of a migrant who is very anti-Australia, but pretends to be pro-Australia. So there are laws and mechanisms in place that Islamists have exploited to the largest extent. And I've failed to find the audience to actually see this. Like, I've even gone to, LGBT conferences, and I've told them, even in the most politically correct way, if possible, that look, would you vote for somebody that pretends to be pro-LGBT but harbors homophobia, harbors transphobia, harbors basically LGBT phobia of any kind? Would you do that? I mean, look at the Lebanese Muslim Association, right? They passed a fatwa that literally says that homosexuals are punished by death. And yet, at the same time, you have leftists who have exploited laws to suppress people like me and to galvanize the LGBT community and others to go out on the streets and protest in favor of terrorist organizations like Hamas. These are the legal challenges that I have faced, and first is experience.
So I have the same experiences, with the exception that you can go to their offices and work behind the scenes. You don't have to be public about it, because I understand in the UK you can be jailed for a Facebook post. So, and I'm sure that's coming to Canada very shortly. But there are ways to do it, and there are things that you can do. I help politicians behind the scenes all the time. And only one politician in our last federal election didn't get in because of me. Because the Muslim world found out I was backing her and, told everybody that I'm a radical Zionist and blah, 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 and I'm a whatever. So I get it, but there's things behind the scenes you can do. You don't have to be so public about it. You don't have to be so, loud about it. You can walk in and talk to your politicians that you want to support. And if you know that somebody's supporting something falsely, get the proof, get the evidence, and then go to that influencer that's, on the same side and say, hey, this is the proof, this is the evidence. Can we make a series of posts about it? I do that all the time in Canada with some other guys that help me. And when we need to get the word out, believe me, it goes far. But it doesn't come from my page, it comes from their pages. And it goes to 2 million people. So at the end of the day, there are ways to do it. You just have to be a little bit more strategic, with all due respect. I'm not saying you're not. I'm just saying, there are ways to do it legally and still help in a very, very big way. Because if we don't, then we're just sort of leaving our countries to their own devices, which we can all see by now is going, the Islamic way. And like I started to say in the beginning, it's because it became a trend. People realized that, if they post a TikTok dance, it's going to get 400 likes, a couple comments. But if they post Free Palestine and screw the Zionists, they get hundreds of thousands of followers. And so they realized that, hey, this is making me money. It's popular. And they jumped on the bandwagon. So I always think to myself, maybe a little naively, I always think to myself, that day, I want to be a fly on the wall. When that day comes and, some of these people wake up, for whatever reason, it happens. They wake up and they say, what the fuck was I doing? What was I thinking? I just watched a guy who follows me. I watched a video from him the other day, and he said it. He said, I was anti-Israel for the last how many years, until I decided one morning, I'm just going to look into it myself. And yes, he's faced a lot of backlash, because that's what they do. When things are popular, they're the popular crowd. It's like school, right? If you go against the popular crowd, what happens? Backlash. But that's okay. Stand your ground. Eventually the backlash ends and they go to somebody else. And who cares what they say, really? But there's ways to do these things where the world will see. One day, God willing, they will see the truth. And it's not going to be all of them. You're not going to convince the Cynthia Nixons of the world with her lesbian wife, You're not going to convince her that, that the state of Israel really doesn't do what they're saying it does. Just like you're not going to convince Greta the troll, that Israel's not the demon she tells people it is. And even something as simple as that. She's sailing a little boat with 40 other little boats, and they think they're going into Gaza. If I had it my way, they would get into Gaza. I would let them land in Gaza and let Hamas deal with them. Because Hamas is not going to welcome them and give them a tea. They're going to cut their heads off. But at the end of the day, if Greta really wanted to feed them, she'd be sailing 40 container ships and not spending hours doing press conferences, because she's saying they're starving, they need food this minute. Well, why are you wasting 6 hours on the media? Why are you wasting all this interview time? Why'd you pull into that port? Put me on the phone with her. And if you want to feed them, where's your container ships? Because that little boat you're taking, it's got to hold food for the 34, 40 people you've got on board. So where's the food left over for them? So enough with your bullshit. That's what has to happen. Expose, debunk exactly what the name of this room is. And that's how you win. You don't win by screaming. You don't win by swearing. You win by helping politicians, in my opinion. I may be dead wrong, but I'm just saying, for what I've seen in my life, that's what seems to help. Getting our politicians in line. And, although we have a prime minister who, you've all heard of Trudeau. And I would never, in my wildest imagination, ever say to anybody or think I would ever say, I actually miss Trudeau. That's how bad it is in Canada. We miss Trudeau. So now what do? We go to Pierre Poilievre, who's the leader of the Conservative Party, and we say, what do you need to win? What can we get you? Do I rally every synagogue, every church, every temple, every Buddhist temple? What do you need me to do? Tell me. And I'll get it done, which is what I did.
And then you led me around to so many churches.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. We went to so many churches, sat through like sermons, this, that, and he was going around to synagogues, churches, like events, dinners with like different groups of like different nationalities. It was the craziest shit.
It's the only way to do it. It's the only way to do it. Because otherwise they're in the dark. They're doing it by themselves with a handful of volunteers, a handful of paid guys. It's not enough. If you want to win a war, you need more than a dozen soldiers, right? Israel called up 500,000 reserves, and they're calling up more every day. If you want to win a war, you need soldiers. Whether your soldier holds an AR or he holds a sign, you're a soldier. And every morning you wake up and you come into rooms like this, you're a soldier. There's no two ways about it. Every fucking buddy in this room is a soldier.
Here you don't need politicians, you need only the crappy people. So you have to go to their level to speak.
I 100% agree. But I spend time on Twitter Spaces with a lot of politicians and some very key journalists around the world, and we have some very, very important discussions. But at the end of the day, I like the in-person thing. I like walking into somebody's campaign office or his headquarters, and believe me, they'll welcome you. My cousin will tell you, I've done security for all of them. You name them, US, Canada, Israel, I've done them all. And, you know, they will welcome you walking in the door. And I'm the head of security. I would never deny someone if they say, hi, I'm here to help so-and-so with his campaign. I just want to know what he needs me to do. I would never say, buddy, get out. I would check you out. You're cool? No problem. Sir, somebody here needs to see you.
Yeah, no, I think it's important what like Maura was saying too, and it's along the lines what you're saying. So like Clubhouse, it's a great platform, and yeah, you have soldiers that come here, but you have Jews, you have Zionists, you have people that are just in it for the fight and not really in it for the solution. So they're on here saying all kinds of shit. And they don't even know what the fuck they're saying, and that becomes problematic.
If I walk away today, BB, with Alpha messaging me, or like I have Harry as a friend on all my platforms, and I consider Harry a friend, then to me that's a win. So whether or not I spoke to a politician, no. I met two great soldiers and we became friends, and now we're collaborating.
Yeah,
so
no,
to
I
me,
agree.
it's a win. I don't need an ambassador on here, although the imam that I do security for, he likes to come on here with a fake name and just sort of listen to what's going on, and God bless him. He's a good guy. But you know, it's everyday people like us that are going to make the biggest impact and the biggest changes.
Ask him if he remembers Harry when next time you talk to him from Clubhouse. He'll tell you he will.
I will, for sure.
He used to come in our rooms all the time.
Did he?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's a good guy.
So he has a headquarters here now.
And they were
finally did that transition.
Yeah.
That was the problem, right? Everybody was giving him death threats and this and that. I remember him coming in the rooms, Harry, in like Jewish resistance, and it was like this guy. They were afraid of the truth, so they tried to silence him, and unfortunately, they did on Clubhouse.
Well, he just got busier, is what it is. He still wants to do it. He still does it. He'll confront them. He'll quote the Quran to them better than they can quote it, of course. And they, they hate him for it, and they've got hits out on him for it. And that's why he hired me. But at the end of the day, we need people like that in this world. And it's a very useful tool in our arsenal, so in our toolbox. But so is soldiers. So are regular, everyday guys like us that do the work. And, we need to collaborate. We need to ask questions of each other because we don't live in various territories. We don't know what's going on over there. We see what's going on in Australia online, but really we don't feel it. We don't know what's going on. We see one positive march and 10,000 negative ones. So we don't know the climate or the temperature. If you ask me what's going on by me, I can tell you. It's a terrorist haven, and they're importing them on a daily basis, and it's just a matter of time before the shit hits the fan. So, that's here. The UK is also another very big problem. And I can't, for the life of me, think about it coming to fruition because they fought for generations to become Great Britain, and they're just going to hand the keys away like it was never anything. Like nobody that ever died on a battlefield ever mattered. That's how I feel about it. And that's the biggest tragedy of it all. Somebody's great-great-grandfather died on that field, and they're just handing the keys away to these people that have no desire to acclimate or assimilate. They just want to take over, implement Sharia law, and do whatever they do. And if you don't convert to them, you pay them a jizya. You don't pay them a jizya, you're a slave. You go up on the slave auction block. They're already talking about slave markets. Well, we're going to need slave markets because the guys and the women and the children that don't want to join us and don't want to pay a jizya, we're going to have to sell them to other people to deal with them.
It's funny you say that because we had somebody on the app last week that was literally saying that they wanted, they want to take over the Vatican, and then they want to make jihad for all the world, and they want to, and whoever doesn't join, they want to charge a jizya, and if they don't want to pay the jizya, then they would get killed. She was on here in this room like last week saying, I don't know who else was in here other than me. I don't know if you were in there at the time, BB, or not, but yeah, it's pretty crazy to hear that. And, multiple people in this religion, in Islam, are saying this type of shit. So it's crazy.
So they've always thought it, Harry, but now they're able to say it without getting arrested for it. Back in the day, if they said something like that, MI5, MI6, fucking CSIS, Feds, somebody would show up at their door, wherever they were. Right now, they can say it, and it's no big deal. It's like, yeah. But they have areas now in Michigan, in the UK. I haven't seen them in Canada yet, but I'm sure it's coming, where it's a no-go zone. If you're not them, you don't dare go there because it's under Sharia law. And there's these guys that run around patrolling it at night, and they're the Sharia police. They actually have in New Jersey a car or a series of cars that say Sharia police on them. I think it's
yeah.
I think it's Teaneck maybe or Patterson.
It's Patterson, New Jersey. Yeah,
Patterson.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
I saw it the other day. Yeah.
And in Windsor, Ontario, Canada, the police cars, our second language is French. So everything has English and French writing. But now the police cars in Windsor have Arabic writing because it's a major Muslim populated place.
I still don't understand that though. I mean, think about it. America's second language is Spanish, right? But I don't see any of the police cars, and I live in a state where there's a lot of Hispanics. I don't see any of the police cars with Spanish writing "Policia," on it. It's crazy to me, man. That's some crazy shit.
Exactly. You never saw Policia on cop cars, and even in Canada, you didn't see police in French. But at the end of the day, they're pandering to them. They're pandering to them for two reasons. A, they're afraid of them. B, because there's so many of them, they're going to be their bosses. They know they're going to be their bosses and judges and chief of polices and,
Hey, can you tell them, I don't think you're doxing yourself, but you remember how you held an event after October 7th and like 600-700 people showed up and the police sent security and you told them what it was?
Yeah.
And remember who they sent?
Yeah.
Can you tell them?
Yeah.
You guys don't believe this.
I did an event right after October 7th. I did a security briefing to just teach people how to secure themselves because the community was freaking out. Everybody was scared. Mezuzahs were being ripped down. Uber drivers were coming and DoorDash drivers were coming and people were calling 911. Like it was ridiculous.
Painting in front of houses, like swastikas on the ground. So people were asking them to do an event, and a huge amount of people showed up. There was people outside waiting to get in, and somehow he ended up securing this crazy location where people could get in. It took a little time, and then all these huge amount of people, and then guess who the police sent?
So I asked the police to send me, the inspectors, right? The guys that wear the white shirts. Who like in the US, it would be your sheriff, not the deputy sheriff. So I said, can you send me a couple white shirts so that we can help you keep 911 clear because they were complaining how 911 was inundated with calls. So I said, help me lower the temperature in the community. And
why would they call 911 though?
Because there was a DoorDash guy on her driveway or driving by her house or on her street. Like the stupidest calls. And we would investigate them. And, my guys would go there and we'd say, it's DoorDash.
I was driving. He sent me sometimes. We were driving an hour. I remember you sent me. I went down to downtown Toronto. This one call I remember he sent me to. He's like, "Yo, can you go help him out?" Da, 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 da. Like we set up. So I'll tell you before, and then he'll tell you at the end what happened with that police thing. So just to frame it. So right away we mobilized a WhatsApp group. The WhatsApp group grew so fucking huge. We had to make divisions of groups. Then we put maps and we made sections, and we had 2,000 people in this group. But then there was a problem. You could only have 250 people per group. So then we made community groups. So then you made a community on WhatsApp, and then you made different groups, and then people would they were reporting, some were legit reports and then some were crazy reports, right? And then some dumbass shit. So we had people going here, going there, this and that, and we had a bunch of volunteers. And then he ended up paying money out of his own pocket to certain people that were protecting daycares and certain places that were getting vile threats. So out of his own pocket, he was paying people to secure, because we couldn't be everywhere. We were driving around, me and him, and we had all these places to secure. And I went one night and I drove all the way down Toronto. It was an hour drive for me. I get there and they're like, yeah, there was a guy that drove by and he stopped in front of our house and he was looking very anti-Semitic. I'm like, okay, what did he do? It's just the way he was looking. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's ridiculous, honestly.
It was fucked, right? So, but at the same time, not going to delegitimize her fear. because that day something happened. I remember in East End Resistance, there was something crazy that happened that exact day, and it was like 10 minutes from this lady's house, where there was a guy that ran in the middle of the street, and there was two little Jewish boys with like pants and kippas on, and this guy ran up and he started punching them, and they were little kids. And so she thought it was this guy. So I'm there wasting my time for 20 minutes, and he's messaging me, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fucking more than okay." It's like so weird. But anyways, we'd have all these false fucking calls. So then we had to make sure that the people that were part of the groups to try and cipher out like what's legit and what's not legit. So the temperature was going wild in these groups, and every Jew was like becoming part of it. And then we had to filter out who's not a Jew, and then we had to change it to invite only type of thing. And then we would send it, and then people would send it to invites, and we would ask them like, "How do you know him?" They're like, "Oh, he told me he's a Jew. You want to be part of the group?" I'm like, "No, he's not in." So then we're like, "Send your ID." So then they would send their ID, and then we would say, "Okay, send your ID, and we want you to do like a video of you holding your ID and saying this is who you are. So that way, if anything does turn to shit, we got you." You know what I mean? So then we kind of locked it down like that, and the groups are still running till today, right?
Yeah.
But anyways, so he does this huge event because people are freaking out, and they're like, the guy's walking by the house, and he's staring out of the corner of his eye. I know he's gonna attack us, and he's like, "Fuck!" And we can't tell him like, "Fuck off, lady, you're nuts." But we're like, "Calm down." And they're like, "Don't tell me to calm down. I know an anti-Semite when I see an anti-Semite. They want to fucking kill me. What the fuck is wrong with you?" And they would attack you. So you're like, whoa, calm down, right? And they're like, "Why aren't you taking it serious?" And they were losing their shit. So he's like, "Hold on. Let's do a community event where we can have people ask questions and do all that." So I'm trying to paint the picture of like how it became to this thing. So a lot of people came, and he paid for the venue. And mind you, this is all in his own dime, right? So it's like he's doing this for free. So he gets there, and it's amazing at the end what happens, and then how quickly. So like some people were trying to turn against him, and it was like the weirdest shit. But then the majority of the people are like, "Are you guys fucking nuts?" And one guy jumped up and he started yelling. He's like, "Shut the fuck up!" Like. And this guy, he was one of our good. Anyways, I won't even get into it because I'm gonna peer dox stuff what happened to this guy. But
so at the end of the day,
go ahead, yeah,
the white shirts. The thing that he's getting at is the white shirts that they sent. So we're doing the panel, right? And I gave a speech. I delivered a speech for about 25 minutes, and I'm just trying to tell people, you know, how to relax and what to identify as a real problem and what isn't, right? Or when to call the police, when to call us, because we would sort of be before the police. They would call us, and then if we thought it was serious, we'd call in law enforcement. But at the end of it, they started questioning the police, and I noticed one of the cops was acting weird, you know, the whole time. He was like not rolling his eyes or anything stupid like that, but he was just sort of tuning out and like in his own little world. So I knew something was up. So when we went downstairs after the event, I had a Q&A. We finished the Q&A, and I took a break, and I went downstairs with one of the inspectors, and I'm like, "So, you know, what do you think?" He's like, "Well, you know, I'm Palestinian, so like," and I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, I'm Palestinian." I said, "Why the fuck are you here?" Like, what the fuck?
Could you imagine, Harry? That's what they said.
I said, "What the fuck would possess you to come here?" He's like, "Well, I'm an inspector. You know, I'm not holding any personal feeling." I said, "Buddy, half that fucking room hates your guts. The other half doesn't even want to look at you right now after October 7th. And you have the balls to stay here and try to help people? You're not helping. What you just did is blow it up." And sure enough, somebody overheard, ran upstairs, announced to everybody that the cops that I brought were Palestinians.
No way.
You had all these yentas going nuts, bro.
Remember the guy with one arm?
Oh, yeah.
I saw him the other day. All of a sudden, He's my best friend now. Anyways,
Everybody run! We brought the Palestinians.
they were freaking out.
There's 700 people, and like they're freaking. You motherfucker!
No, they weren't blaming me. They were blaming the cop, saying it was a setup.
The cop. They were like,
They were saying it's a setup, that the cops set it up like that so that the Pallies could get fucking intel on us. And after a long conversation I had with the cop, I basically came to the conclusion that, you know, he did have clear intentions. He just couldn't, you know, and I don't know that anybody can be in that environment and not put their personal feelings on the table. You know, we weren't calling them names. We weren't saying it. Whenever we talk about them, we say, you know, we'll say radical Islamists or Hamas or, you know, Islamists. You know, we're not going to say the Muslim population because that's just not what you do. But, you know, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, then it's a duck, right? So it was a harsh lesson. And I mean, who knew we had to vet the police? Because, you know, I said, send me the inspectors, send me your top guys. And they did. They sent me their 2 top guys, and their 2 top guys identify as that. So it just goes to show you, you know, the positions that they're placing themselves in like high offices of power. And so Alpha, it comes back to the same conversation again. If we want to accept it and have a guy in Paterson, New Jersey, wearing that terrorist flag on his bulletproof vest, then, you know, we leave it at status quo. But if we don't want that, then somebody has to go to, you know, identify a cop in a high rank in that division that is totally against what's going on, and then have a talk with them. Invite them out for a drink and say, okay, how do we get you into that position?
They don't drink, bro. You forgot.
No. I'm not saying them.
Ah, okay.
Somebody that's going to go against them in the next round of, you know, promotions or elections or whatever it is in your local area, right? But you go and you prop the guy up. I've done it many, many times. And you say, like, look, there was an inspector here who was an acting inspector, and he wanted to go for full inspector. So at first the community was like, he's anti-Semitic, he's this, he's that. I'm like, let me go talk to him. So I went up and I said, do you mind if we sit down and have a conversation? He's like, no, go ahead. So I started quizzing him and asking him questions. And I said, like, I'm not asking you to pick sides. I just want to know where your head is at. And if you don't mind, you know, giving me the appropriate answers that, you know, that are the truth. If it's whatever it is, but just give me the truth. So I ended up finding out that he basically is a guy that loves golf, loves freedom, hates oppressors. So basically he doesn't like them. So I didn't come out and say it, but everything was pointing in that direction. And so I said to him, you know, what's your next level? And he said, I'm an acting inspector right now, and I'm trying to become an inspector. I said, but? He said, but I need a lot of community support. I need a lot of letters. I need a lot of this. I need a lot of that. I said, okay, done. Give me a list. So he gave me a list, and I got it done. Every letter, every referral, every recommendation, every politician that he needed to write him a letter, wrote him a letter, and he just became an inspector. So that's how I go about doing things. Maybe, you know, this situation could be unique because I have sort of an in with it, but there could be other ways to do it. And I try to get people to open, you know, their mind to it because it's pretty effective. And now you've got one less radical Islamist who's going to get that position for the next however many years. Right? So to me, that's a win. It may be a small win, but it's a win. And if you add those up over time, you know, they get bigger and bigger. So, like, we're going after the mayor's race now. We just did a federal election. We lost. So we're propping up the next federal campaign. And we're going after the mayoral race. And hopefully we put somebody in power who's going to implement proper policies and allow the police to do their job. Because the current, you know, Islamist loving mayor couldn't care less.
Which city?
Toronto. And she sends memorandums down to the chief of police that says, do not act unless there's violence. Meaning, somebody can say, death to the IDF, death to Israel, death to this, death to that. All Zionists should be dead, and they don't get arrested. But in a normal world, that qualifies as hate speech and threats. But
and inciting violence.
Correct, but nothing's happening because she sends down memorandums saying, hands off, guys. Don't touch anyone unless there's actual violence. So unless someone punches somebody in the head, the police aren't allowed to do anything about it. And it's happening in New York, it's happening in Canada, it's happening in Australia, it's happening in the UK. And the only place where they're starting to turn it around right now is Germany. It's the only place that is starting to turn around, believe it or not, is Germany. The police are just, it's all fair game now. They can do whatever they want. They can literally kick the shit out of anybody and get away with it. No problem. So I'm not suggesting that that's what needs to happen, but the police need to be able to do their job. Their hands are tied and they need to untie them. Because I speak to a lot of members of law enforcement and I work with a lot of them. And some of them are just a waste of space. But a lot of them really would love nothing more than to do their job. And when they see something that, you know, approaches a really bad level, they say to me, man, I wish I could step in and do something about that. And I say to them, like, what are you talking about? Like, you took an oath. You have to do something about it. And they're like, no, I'm not allowed. So when you hear that from law enforcement, like, it really makes you think. Because, you know, cops are supposed to be the protectors of society, right? I never thought in our lifetime that, like, our community would have to protect itself. I always did. I always, you know, worked at protecting communities, but I never thought it would be on this scale. I've been doing this for 30 years.
That's what happens when you let the lefties take over, the liberals take over.
Agreed.
This is exactly what happens.
Agreed.
They take away the power from the people at the end of the day. Really, they take away the protection from the people, and they do what they want. And that's not to protect the people. That's not, you know, what one of their objectives is. So.
Well, they want everyone's guns. They want to control everybody.
That's what I'm saying. You look at the liberal states in the United States, and you see very similar things that are happening in Canada in these liberal states like California, New York, like you mentioned, Illinois, you know, Washington, Oregon. You see all this same type of shit, Colorado. But when you look at like Texas or Florida, stuff like that, if anything happened like that, it gets shut down immediately, and it doesn't happen after that again.
So they try to do the same thing at this one university here next to where I live. When they were all protesting at the universities, like the pro-Palestine protest, they shut it down immediately, arrested multiple people, and after that day, it never happened again. But the president of the university didn't, allowed it to happen. So they actually brought in police from the city to actually, because each campus has their own police force, but that's nothing like, and they don't have the size or the numbers to shut down a riot, so they have to bring in help from the city police, and because where that university is at, it's actually not in the county technically, so the sheriff's department wouldn't come. It would be actually the city police that would come, and they shut it down quick, and it never happened after that again. So, but you saw it happen multiple times in like MIT, Columbia, UCLA, all these fucking campuses, in these libtard cities, and that's what happened, and yeah, it was a big problem. And not allowing people to go to their classes and stuff is ridiculous because of their religion or ethnicity. It's that shouldn't be happening in America. So, and these lefties are getting away with it, man. It's crazy. And now look at what's happening in New York, which is fucking scary to see that this guy might become the mayor of New York. I think he's probably going to end up winning. Just knowing how New York is, I wouldn't be shocked if he wins. So yeah, it's fucking scary. And Canada, Canada is following along very well with a lot of these liberal cities here in America.
Yeah, it's sad. You're right. And I was on campus, a lot of those universities, and I walked through the encampments at my local university. I walked straight through the encampments, and I had security set up for all the Jewish students that wanted to protest it all. And we provided 24/7 security for Jewish kids going to classes.
Wow.
And it's on Al Jazeera did it. Anyways, I'm not going to dox myself, but yeah, I basically I still provide security for Jewish kids on campus, and I can honestly say, thank God, since we've been doing it, there hasn't been one attack on a Jewish kid all of last year, not once since we launched September the 8th. And they asked me, they tried to ban me from every campus in Canada. They tried a lot of shit. None of it successful, but they tried a lot. And the funny thing is, I don't even go to the campuses. I'm across the street from the campus with 100 guys. So the Jewish students have an 800 line. They can call me anytime and say, I'm trying to walk to class, or we've got a Hillel group in a room and they're banging on the walls, and, suddenly some people will appear. But
it's crazy that we have to go to this level. Like, this is insane if you think about it.
It is insane. It's totally insane. But I'd rather have it than not have it. Because to not have it was the encampments and Jewish kids not being able to cross specific boundaries because they're Jewish. Now, try to stop a Jewish kid from going to class. Oh, I fucking dare you. So, to me, that's the bottom line. And if we have to have it, we have to have it.
But we shouldn't. That's fucking ridiculous. I mean, in Canada's not as a free country as America, but in America, like, that should never fucking happen. And I would like to say the same for Canada, but Canada's a fuck country. No offense to your country, but yeah,
no, buddy.
It's fucked.
The anthem says we stand on guard for thee. We don't stand on guard for shit. I told them yesterday, I told somebody high up in the federal government, we need to change our anthem to we stand for nothing. Because Canada really stands for nothing. I have an arsenal of weapons in a bunch of safes. So does my cousin. And half the shit, if not more than half the shit that we own, is illegal now. They put them all on a banned list. And basically, the only thing you're allowed to use here is, which is fine for me, is a 12-gauge pump, or a bolt-action rifle. But, I mean, listen, a bolt-action with a clip for, 6.5 Creedmoor, that's a pretty big round. So I'm okay with that too. But at the end of the day, they're just trying to take away more and more freedoms. And I don't know if anyone knows this, but in Canada, Terry, if you send me a link right now to something in your region on the news, online, and say, here's the article, I can't post it. It won't post for me. I'm not allowed to share news. So that's why you've seen on my social media that when I'm in an interview or whatever, I'll screenshot the article and then, say, hey, this so-and-so writer did a pretty good write-up. If you want to go read it, Google it. Because I'm not allowed to post the link. It won't show up. So they've already taken that away from us. That was Bill C7, I believe, or C3. And it's just getting worse and worse and worse. So what are our options? Our options are make sure our community's safe first and foremost, right? As far as I'm concerned, if our community's not safe, we don't have a community. So let's worry about our freedoms and rights once everybody's safe. And then once everybody's safe, well, now it's time to worry about our freedoms and rights. And we also
that should be for our government to worry about. Like, that shouldn't be for us to worry about. If we're living in a society that claims to be free and that claims to be, give us the protections under the Constitution, at least here in America, right, that we deserve as Americans. So for that to happen, it shouldn't even have to happen, right? We should.
You have the Second Amendment. You have the First Amendment, and I'll tell you, we have our top federal politicians, as of yesterday, going in the news and saying they want a castle law implemented in this country because you're not allowed to defend yourself if someone breaks into your home. And the top cop in one of the regions went on. There was a 4-year-old who was killed in her home, and then there was a family of 4 that were set on fire, killed.
Oh, God.
They reported it in the media as a home fire, house fire. They didn't say it was a home invasion causing 4 murders. So a couple people are getting very, very antsy. We all are. And a couple of them would shoot into the wall, right? They just fire a warning shot into the wall. They arrest them. They take away their guns. They arrest them. They charge them. They put them through courts. And so now all the politicians even are saying, hey, this isn't right. You should be able to defend yourself in a home. But the point of the matter is, they're emboldening all of the criminals who 90% of the time are from that region of the world, because they're importing them on student visas.
Is that the best you got?
Or visitor visas. They'll stay here for a month, break into as many homes as they can, steal as many cars as they can, and then fly back with 20 grand in their pocket, which is a lifetime of money for them in their country. So it's getting really bad, and the pushback is what we're doing every day, trying to get the gun laws, stiffened, but we're not going to do that unless we bring our politicians back.
Oh yeah, you guys have a long way to go with that.
We do, but I'm willing to fight, and I'm willing to go all the way with it. Look, I took, and forget me, my whole team, all of our crews everywhere, they all did the work. But we took a problem that was in existence. As you ask anybody, anyone that you know in this country, if they had problems with Muslims in universities, and they'll tell you, In 74, we were doing a Hillel thing, and it's gone way back in time. But from last year, from September 8th to today, they can't say anything. So it just goes to show you that things can be done if you really, really crack them down. You know, and decide enough's enough. And I went and I risked my life many times. And the radicals have, I don't know how many hits out on me. I lost count. And, you know, they try to get me banned from every social media platform. They tried to get the government to come down on me. They tried to get the police on me. Anything you could try to stop a person with, they've tried. And so, you know,
you're not doing anything wrong. That's the thing.
No, I'm not. And that's
I don't know what the fuck they're trying to stop. Like, you know,
I'll send you a letter that was signed by 6 of their organizations, campus organizations, against me, and they all said that I'm, you know, basically a killer, a vigilante, a this, a that. So I got called from one of their papers, the editor, and I said, like I always say in interviews, send me your list of questions and I'll respond in writing. So I go down the list, I'm looking at all the questions, and all of them were trying to bait me. I went to the last question, and I said, okay, I'm basically going to ask one question back. Please provide one example of me being a vigilante. If you can do that, I will come to your paper's office and I will give you everything you want, live, tape it, film it, spread it across Al Jazeera for all I give a shit, which they did. So they couldn't because it's false. So they lie. They'll do whatever they can. They'll cheat. They'll steal. It's, what's it called? Takia? Alpha would have known better than me. I forgot by now. But basically, they're allowed to lie.
Yeah, I know. It's Takia.
Yeah, Takia. Yeah.
So they're allowed to lie, you know, when they're performing their little frickin' jihad.
Oh, your buddy's here. This Aleph beside you.
Whose buddy?
Your buddy.
My buddy?
He just said Takia. Hey, so
his connection was bad.
You're on both your buddy.
On the scholar. It is Takia, and it's also called Hizma.
Right, thank you. Yes. So at the end of the day, they can lie, they can cheat, they can steal, they can do everything.
Aleph's trying to say hi to you.
Who?
Aleph.
You don't. I knew it was you. I was just listening to your voice. We haven't spoken in a while, man.
Hey, how are you, brother?
Good. How are you?
Fuck, long time, man.
Too long.
Good grief. How you been?
Yeah, good. You know, just everyone's just going through the motions. You know.
Yeah, I know. I've been following. I've been watching. I've been seeing. It's great. That's great.
Good to hear you. Good to hear you,
brother. I always ask about you. I'm not going to take everybody's time up saying hi to my old buddy, but I definitely think we should catch up.
100%. I'd love it.
Amazing to hear your voice. So, at the end of the day, that's the bottom line. You know, I'm just trying to say, like, everybody should try to just do whatever they can. Because everything helps, you know, everything. And there's another perfect example of an amazing guy who I met here. Love him to death. We did a couple things together online. You know, passionate, you know, he does his work. He does it well. You know, he cuts through the bullshit. And super, super smart, super educated, great at fighting this, you know, major uphill battle. But I met him here. And thank God for that. So, like, that's what I'm saying. You guys coming here is a form of fighting. because you're gonna meet people, you're gonna collaborate, you're gonna do other things through it, and through my cousin, I'm happy to say, he put me in touch with some great people, and my cousin's good at that. He's good at spotting talent and really genuine people.
Well, I remember at the beginning before I got on, he's like, "I'm gonna bring you to the shop. I want you to stick around." Harry, and then Alec before it was a different name. He's like, "These are the guys you want to be around." I walked into the room. I'm like, "Hey, Harry." Harry's like, "Go fuck yourself." What the fuck is this? That was a bad character, and then boom, I got along. We know each other. We became friends. I, met them, and it was just fucking like, yeah, it ended up being good, right?
Wait, why did I tell you to go fuck yourself? I forgot what
asked
even happened.
something. I interrupted him something, and you're like, "Shut the fuck up, go fuck yourself." And I'm like, "Whoa, what this?" I'm like, "I'm not going nowhere." You're like, "Then you're gonna sit in the fucking bottom." And I think.
I think I met your cousin first before you.
Yeah,
I think I remember.
You met him first, and then he introduced me to the app. He brought me to the app, and he's like, "These are the people you want to be around."
Yeah, that was a while
Remember
ago.
the other guy who used to do big rooms?
Henry.
Right.
Yeah.
So Henry's a friend of mine here, and that's how I met you. He invited me into his room. Henry was in our WhatsApp groups that my cousin was just talking about.
Damn, that's crazy. How that
he was in our patrol groups because what we were doing was we were encouraging anyone.
I'll tell you, there's nothing like
Hang on. I'm in a patrol group.
campaigns that will lose faith.
Right. But listen,
No.
we wanted a uniform in Jewish Resistance got him platform shoes, so don't worry. Like,
Did you find a uniform that fit? Did you find
No. We had to go to the kids store. We had to go to
No, but it wasn't even that. Are you kidding? That guy's not going to drive around in what he drives around in patrol. He was just helping bring people to the table.
He's good at that. He's really good at.
Solid.
Yeah, he's not going to drive around in his nice ass car. We know he's got a nice ass car.
Buddy, did he ever? And he brought it to my rally for Israel. We just did our third annual, so he brought it to the first one. And I was like, seriously, dude? He's like, I said, if you're bringing that, we're putting Israeli flags all over it. He's like, okay, go ahead. No, he's cool, man.
He's a good guy, man. He's a really good guy.
Really good guy. But that's the beauty of this app. Honestly, because you wouldn't be able to do this on social media platforms like, Instagram or whatever, because you're typing. You have no way to meet the person, no way to know how they sound or what their vibe is like, right? Like, or if they're passionate or they're just bullshitters.
I agree.
And this place, I honestly, I'm very grateful to this app because, and he just came up now, and that's one of the guys, I love him. And he, Harry and BB and all the people that I've met through this app, well, obviously not BB, I met him when he was born, but
I feel sorry for
so you've been
remembered you, BB.
but this is a good way to fight, guys. That's what I'm saying, man, because this is the best way to collab and really like find your people that align with you and can maybe perhaps get some stuff done. And look, the hot ticket right now is Mom Don and trying to make sure that he doesn't win. And so I've spoken to a lot of New Yorkers about it, and unfortunately, the only real candidate in their eyes is Adams. And I mean, I guess it comes down to the lesser of two evils, but
he's much better than Mandan. I mean, like 100 times better.
Yeah, I agree.
Listen, he doesn't call the globalized intifada. That's all I need to know. That's all I need to give him my vote.
Of course. Yeah,
it was weird from my position when they asked during the debate, where would these candidates go if they had the option to go anywhere, and all of them were saying Israel.
Wow.
I'm just worried for New York because there's a lot of fucking Jew haters in New York because they're, they live next to, a lot of them are familiar with Jews. They live next to them, and I met a lot of them on this app. And the people, the Jew haters that I met on this app, the ones from New York, are the most vile ones I've ever met. I think.
Why
There's a couple of them on it. Vile, bro. Vile people. Disgusting. The shit that you hear from their mouths.
Why is that? Because New Yorkers have balls, or just because like they just happen to be extra haters? Like,
both maybe. It could have been something where they, I saw a Jewish person in New York, and something happened where they felt offended by them, and from that day on, they just had hatred and vitriol towards Jewish people. That, or they had a friend that, got him to feel that way. I don't know, but I feel like you see that more in cities where they live very close to them, and I could be wrong, but that's just what I feel. And there's a couple that are on this app. I'm telling you, the shit that I hear from their mouth, they have no skin in the game for this whole conflict that's happening, and they're the loudest people on this app about it. Most of them, with the dirty, disgusting, vile shit that comes from their mouth. They're literal Jew hatred that comes out of their mouth. They calling to kill Jews. That's scary shit, man. So that's why I'm worried for New York, because there's a lot of them that are in New York that are like that. There's just no education. The education there's shit, So
where do they get the?
So yeah, that's how I see it. Huh?
Where do they get the chutzpah to say some of these crazy things?
They're fucking New Yorkers. What do you expect? The worst fans of any New York team. They're the worst fans. They're the worst people. Like, they're shit.
Harry, it's odd to me because obviously I'm not naive, but I sort of can't wrap my head around it, because the perpetrators of 9/11 are the ones who are being propped up, and they're proudly wearing their flags and their terrorist garb, and I can't wrap my head around it. I don't know.
24 years ago when that happened, and a lot of people on this stage are already familiar with it, and it's been mentioned many times in our rooms. You can go find the videos of the Palestinians in the street dancing and handing candies out and handing baklava and kanafe out to all their people, all the civilians in the street when 9/11 happened. They were celebrating, and then now it's like the reverse. Like, everybody in New York are celebrating October 7th. It's fucking crazy to me. I don't know what the fuck happened to that city, but yeah, something happened to that city. It became radicalized since 9/11. They went the complete opposite turn. Crazy shit, man.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy when you're propping up your enemies. I mean, it's like the saying goes, not all Muslims are terrorists, but all terrorists are Muslim.
Yeah. I like that saying. It's true.
It's like, okay, not all Muslims are terrorists. I agree, but all Muslims are all terrorists are Muslim, though. And at the end of the day, like, throughout New York's history, World Trade Center, the first bombing, like, so many things that they've done in New York. I don't know, like, where's the memory? There's no memory there, and these people, I don't get it.
So what happened in New York is this: over the last 25 years, there has been a push in universities, professors educating young people with a far left-wing socialist agenda, funded by Qatar and other bad actors. And it has only amplified in the last 5 years. You've got these social justice movements that the far left Marxists hang on to, or grab onto, should I say, and they see this Palestinian cause as just being another similar cause to all their other causes, which were, for example, Black Lives Matter. And all these far left-wing organizations have been pumping funds into this for a long time, including CARE, which is a Muslim organization that's aligned with the Muslim Brotherhood that runs openly in America. And then you've got people like Mahmoud Khalil, who's actually meant to be deported, who's still running around the streets of New York, organizing all these events. You've got another organization in New York that actually organizes these pro-Palestinian events, which is funded by an organization which is close to George Soros as well. The guy that is being paid $85,000 a year just to be in the streets and protest, who is Asian. He's not a Muslim, he's just an Asian ex-student. And the story goes on and on and on and on. So the younger generation, unfortunately, have fallen into the trap of thinking and believing that the colonial struggle against Israel is their struggle against, the U.S. colonialism as well. They hate America. They hate Jews. They hate America. They burn the American flag openly in the streets of New York now. They will take American flags off street signs and street poles and flag poles, and they'll put a Palestinian flag up instead. The police do nothing, and it's a shit show.
Yeah, I mean, technically you're allowed to burn the American flag and all that, but it's still, I know what you're saying. It's disgusting and it's horrible. And you're right, this selective shit's taken over, man. It's a virus.
That's a very good point
virus, man.
that he just made, and yeah, it all makes sense when you connect the dots that way. Of course, I know they're being indoctrinated on a university level, on a campus level. I do security a lot for one of the famous professors there, and so I know the kind of stuff that is going on, but when you connect all the dots and, it makes sense. And you have to hand it to these radical pricks. Like, they knew exactly where to get it from and where to start and how to do it and where it would just spread from there. These are the future leaders of the world.
And it was October 7th happened. It was morning here on the Eastern Seaboard. It was early morning. When I started getting the news, like 4 o'clock in the morning, something like that. Anyway, cut a long story short, they were out on the streets in Union Square and other locations in New York City on the evening of October 6th, or the evening of October 7th, going into October 8th. There's signs of genocide. Israel's committing genocide. We're already on the streets on the 7th of October. They were prepared. They knew what to do. It was all pre-prepared. And somebody in one of these organizations here in the United States that is aligned with the Muslim Brotherhood and Hamas knew what was going on. 100%.
I strongly believe that.
Actually, Israel didn't go into the Gaza Strip for a few weeks until after October 7th. We didn't start any operations for a while. So the bottom line is somebody fucking knew about it. The streets were filled with these signs, and it's been going on ever since.
Aleph, do you remember we were talking about this a while back when we did a thing together, and we said, sorry if I'm going to misquote, but I think we both agreed on the fact that, after October the 7th, we had hoped that the IDF would have gone in October 8th and just destroyed everything week 1. Because the longer it was going to drag out, the worse it would become for the rest of the world, the Jewry population around the world, and of course in Israel. And I still hold firm to that belief, because the longer it drags out, the worse it's becoming for Jews around the world. And it's unfortunate, because I say it not knowing the answer, very ignorant to the answer, so please bear with me. At what point do you, as a government, put national security and worldwide nation security ahead of, 200 hostages? Like, I would never want to make that decision. I would never, ever want to have to make that decision. But I've guarded some hostages, former hostages rather, that have said to me, just that. they would have gladly sacrificed their life to save the rest of the Jewish world. And by extension, the Christian world, because after they're done with the Jews, they go after the Christians. So at what point do you finally say, okay, this is about national security now. This is no longer about, and again, thank God I don't ever have to make that decision, because I don't know that I ever could. As far as I'm concerned, every life is precious and has to be saved. But that is the big question, how do you weigh out the lives of a whole nation versus, a few dozen, that may or may not be alive?
Well, America has learned the hard way from terrorist attacks in the past. So what I think is the next major terrorist attack that happens in the United States will be maybe a wake-up call for everybody again, because Americans seem to be living in such a bubble that they think nothing can happen here. And we saw one already happen in Colorado not too long ago. A guy tried to, take a flamethrower to Jewish people, older Jewish people, and burn them to death, pretty much. A guy that wasn't even here legally in the United States. So yeah, and that alone still wasn't a wake up call to most people. And look, we still have the same rhetoric that we're hearing here in the United States, in the Western world, and there's still people. There was an American in here today saying that he supports Hamas, in our country, openly supporting a terrorist organization. So yeah, shit's pretty alarming. What?
Tell him to leave America then, if he supports enemies.
I mean, I can tell him whatever, but that's, at that point, the FBI should be involved if he's saying he supports a terrorist, because he needs to be investigated to see where his money's been going. Because if he says he supports a terrorist organization and they can track and trace to see any kind of donation, this was said earlier, to one of these organizations that who knows where the fuck the money's going to, and they find out that it went to somebody affiliated with Hamas, he can go to federal prison. It's not a fucking joke in America. So, and you'll be locked up in a federal institution, not like a little state prison. You're going to be in federal prison with federal fucking criminals, like terrorists, like the shoe bomber, what's his name, Sheikh Khalid, the guy who perpetrated all of the 9/11 attack. Those guys are all locked up in Florence, maximum security, but you'll be locked up there with them. It's not a joke, right? And that's what I'm saying. Like, there's a lot of sleeper cells that are in this country, and probably also in Canada, and other Western nations as well. So it's pretty alarming.
Yeah, it is alarming. You're right. And it's unfortunate because, specifically, the concerning part for me specifically is New York at the moment, because it seems to be, getting worse on a daily level. On a daily basis, you wake up and you see more and more attacks. I saw another video this morning of a couple that were driving their vehicle, and a bunch of Islamists were surrounding their car, spitting on the car and banging on the window. And when the cop came along, he just sort of shooed them away, which sends a message basically that it's okay to do that. As long as you don't get caught, do what you need to do. And when you do get caught, they're just going to send you on your way. So it always comes down to a law enforcement level, in my opinion.
Yeah, of course.
If the law's not being utilized, then, society goes crazy, right? Historically, that's the way it's always been. And when the laws are exercised, then people start thinking twice. And the beauty that you got in the U.S. is you've got the right to bear arms. And, somebody breaks into your home, God forbid, you can blow their head off with a clear conscience and not worry about defending your family. Where we're from, there are 9 different levels of use of force before you're allowed to get to that point.
Holy shit.
So you have to, in your mind, while the guy's holding a gun to your wife's head, you have to go through those 9 levels and then decide, okay, was I able to get to my safe to pull out my weapon? Was I able to go to my box to pull out my ammo? Was I able to load it correctly and then fire before he shot my wife? Those are all questions that need to be answered, which of course have very logical ways around them.
And the criminals are going to exploit that.
Well, in my home, I'm cleaning my guns in every room of the house 24/7. So whenever they walked into my house, I was absolutely cleaning my guns. I'm just saying, I clean my guns every night.
Listen, at the end of the day, it's funny you brought this up. I saw, actually, it was like yesterday or the day before, I saw a meme. It was an interview of a, some cop somewhere in Canada.
That's what I was just about to tell you.
And then you saw the sheriff from Polk County, Florida, Grady Lee or whatever his name is, the fucking badass sheriff. Did you see? That's the one you were talking about?
Yeah, so the cop, he didn't mean it the way he said it. He didn't actually mean that. He sort of just meant, like, comply, like, don't put up a fight if they just want your keys or whatever and you want to save your family, maybe, just comply. He's not saying make them a coffee and order them a pizza, but at the same time, the sheriff in the States is right. If they walk into your home, they've already breached. And once that breach is past the threshold of your front door, you're allowed to defend yourself. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to defend myself.
Oh, the front door in Florida, it's if you step on their lawn, anywhere on their property, like if you step anywhere on their grass and you feel like they're like they might have a gun and they point a gun at you or something like that, then yeah, you have every right to go ahead and pull your gun out and shoot the guy. But I mean, if he's just stepping on your grass and like you tell him to get off and doesn't want to get off, obviously you can't do that. But there's certain ways around that. If the guy does come at you or whatever, yeah, you definitely can pull your gun out and shoot the guy by the stand your ground law in Florida. But what that Sheriff Grady was saying was, he's like, those people in Polk County, we got a lot of guns here in Polk County. He's like, and those people like to use them guns. Like, so he's like, if you want to go and break in their house, go ahead and try and see what happens.
He also said on Saturdays we teach shooting. We'll make you better at it so you don't miss. I love that guy. I'm moving in right next to him.
Bro, I love that guy too, bro. He's a legend, man. Definitely. Especially in Florida. People, when I drive through that county, I'm like, shit, bro. I don't want to get pulled over. Nothing, because like that, the police there are, they're on point there, man. They, you never know what can happen. So, Florida is definitely a police state. That's for sure. So, you got to know that. And like, if you are a pro-police person, like, then, Florida will be a great state. Texas would be a great state for you to live in. But that's one thing is, like, I do feel very protected in Florida. And, and I feel like, with the laws here and how the Constitution really is at the end of the day, I know that I can own a gun, and I know that I have every right to defend my house or my property if somebody does break in the middle of the night, so, and I'm not worried about that. My neighbor has a gun. Both my neighbors have guns, and the people down the street have a gun. And then I have two houses down from me. I have a cop that lives there, actually. So there's plenty of guns on our street too. Like, that's the thing, is pretty much everybody has a gun here. So,
my 68-year-old sister, when I was down there, she pulled out a 380 from her purse. She's like, "What do you think of this one I just got?" She said, "Can you zero it in for me?" I'm like, "What? You're 68 years old." She's like, "Well, I'm allowed to defend myself here."
She's right. Yeah, no, definitely.
I'm with it, man. I'm coming. I told you.
That's a big gun for a 68-year-old, man. She's at that recoil, and that thing is going to blow her arms back.
Nah, it's a little 380. It's a little pea shooter. It's good, but it's small. But
it's a smaller revolver. It's not the big revolver.
Not the revolver. It's a 380 semi. It uses 38 shells, but it's a little semi, small little semi.
I see. Okay. I see.
Something you'd see in a James Bond movie.
Okay.
Small.
And she's Moroccan, so she's built like a ship for us, bro.
Yeah.
Her arm's not moving. She
We're coming
shoots
there,
somebody.
Barry. You know that, right?
What, to Florida?
Yeah.
Like to move?
Oh yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
You're done with Canada, huh?
Done.
I don't blame you.
Done.
Well, how are you gonna? You can come here on a TN visa, right? Or what kind of visa do you
I
need?
can do a TN because of what I do for a living, but I'm gonna do a business visa instead. I opened a security company not far from you, actually.
Oh, nice. Let's talk, bro. Let's talk offline, bro.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm gonna be doing some work there, and I'm getting all the infrastructure set up now. But yeah, I want to live in a place that allows you to protect your loved ones and yourself, and
for sure.
It's not even for me. Look, yeah, okay, I'm lying. It is about guns. I love guns, but at the same time, it's about the freedom that it represents, right?
I agree. Listen, like it's in the Second Amendment, man, and like and there's states here that are trying to take that away. Like it's the worst thing in the world. It's like all those states that have gun laws like that, it's all unconstitutional. I don't know how the fuck these states passed these laws, but it's these fucking lefty politicians that did it, man.
That's why you see these liquor stores, and by the way, it's happening in Canada as well, where guys will walk in. Certain ethnicities, they'll have big gym bags, they'll fill them up with booze, and the security guard's watching them do it, and he's tasked, his protocol is let them do it, just make sure nobody gets hurt.
Sounds like California.
It is California. But like, what's the point of having a business? Like, and look at Florida, you could go into I forget the names, but like the drugstores, CVS or whatever.
Yeah, CVS, Walgreens, yeah.
And you want shampoo, and it's locked in a fucking container, and you gotta get a key for it. But
it's so true. He's so right, bro.
I'm not mad at them because at least they're stopping the thieves from coming in and doing what they're doing here and in California.
Yeah, in California, they say as long as you don't steal over $999 worth of goods, you're good to go. So it's like, here's a free pass to steal. Like,
I literally saw a dude with a calculator in a store. I'm not kidding. I saw a guy taking something. Before he put it in his bag, he added it on a calculator.
That shit's insane, man. That's crazy.
How can you live in a society that's so lawless?
Yeah, that's some lawless stuff, man. Like, how can you, if you want to open a business, like, feel safe to have imagine it being like a mom and pop store, even though, and that's a lot of their logic is like, oh, it's a CVS, so we can just rob them. It doesn't matter. You're taking money away from the company and from people who work in the company. It's not right. You don't just rob people. It's not within the law. It's against the law. You're breaking the law.
Not how society's supposed to work.
Exactly, and if the police don't do anything about it, then they'll just keep breaking the law. That's why you see that there in these cities.
Yeah, these governors are just jokes. The fact that they allow it to take place, and you could go on and on about it, but at the end of the day, I